There'll be no eye in the sky after the South African Air Force's Gripen fleet has been temporarily grounded. The SA Air Force says this is due to funding challenges and maintenance contracts not being renewed. These problems are the latest in a string of issues facing South Africa's defense forces. In May, ammunition shortages were reported, and last month, a Defense Force Service Commission investigation found that soldiers were not properly armed to protect military sites. Well, DefenceWeb has been leading in its reportage on this story, and its editor, Guy Martin, joins me now for that conversation. So, Guy, well done on the reporting on this story, but sadly, it is really a story that should be concerning for many of us in South Africa. So basically, as far as air defense capacity is concerned, we are, left with an open flank, are we?
Good afternoon. Yes, the grounding of the Gripens is indicative of the sorry state of the entire Air Force. The Gripens are grounded. Very few of our Hawk trainer and light combat aircraft are available. Many of the helicopters are unserviceable. Most of our C-130 Hercules transport aircraft fleet is unserviceable. So this is just one indication of severe budget cuts impacting the ability of the South African Air Force to meet its mandate.
I think just before we talk a bit more about the other aspect that you're reporting on, some of the aircraft being cannibalized for their parts, just give us a sense of how long the Gripens have been grounded and what the official explanation is, because I believe you were able to get something out of the Department of Defense.
Yes, so the Gripens have been grounded for about 3 months, and it looks like they'll probably be flying again early next year. But contract negotiations are still underway between Arms Corps and SAAF. So SAAF, as you may know, is the manufacturer of the Gripens. There have been some issues. It shouldn't have taken this long to get these contracts approved. So it's not just about money in this case. Obviously, that's a critical factor, but Arms Corps have been problematic in implementing these contract negotiations and also implementing preferential procurement regulations properly. So it is a little bit of a challenge from that point of view, but funding is the main culprit behind this. So, as I was saying, the Gripens haven't flown for 3 months, and even if they are returned to serviceability tomorrow, another problem is that the air crew haven't been flying and they've lost their currency. So we don't actually have pilots to fly the Gripens at this point in time. And the serviceability of the other training aircraft in the South African Air Force, such as the PC-7s, that's also been quite poor lately. So the training capacity has also been diminished.
So, Guy, given the way we purchased these Gripens and Hawks, the controversial manner in which it was all done, the last thing I want to hear as a South African taxpayer is that they are being cannibalized and parts being taken for use elsewhere. Is that happening?
Well, when we talk about cannibalization, it means that out of the 26 Gripens that we have, about half of those have been heavily cannibalized to support some of the others. But at this point, all the spares have been used up. So when we say cannibalized, it's not like the parts are being sold or taken away to somewhere else. And they are used in other aircraft. But now all the Gripens have had all their spares taken out, and they can't fly anymore.
Yeah, okay, that's a perfectly logical explanation, but it doesn't comfort me, I suppose, because, the spares should be available and there should be a pathways to securing spares. Before I let you go, though, Guy, locate this for us within the broader crisis of the funding of the South African National Defence Force. The former minister and now Speaker of the National Assembly, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, used to lament this year in, year out. Rolf Meyer pointed it out during the defence review, and that's some years ago. I imagine that the situation has gotten even worse. We are seriously underfunding the National Defence Force because this story, Guy, you can pretty much, stencil it on the South African Navy, can't you?
Yes. Just to add, just going back to the Air Force, the experts have been warning since at least 2015 that either the Hawks or the Gripens would be grounded because funding wasn't available. So now we are seeing that a lot of the aircraft in the Air Force are not operational. And this comes at a time where the SANDF as a whole is being increasingly called on for things like COVID response. As we saw during that July unrest, the military was called out. We've got peacekeepers in the DRC. We've got troops with the SADC mission in Mozambique. So the SANDF is being called on to do more and more, but they're given less and less funding. And now we are seeing that aircraft are unserviceable. And as you mentioned with the Navy, there's another problem there as well. To a lesser extent, the Army, but all three services are their capabilities are being eroded because there isn't enough funding available. And for the Navy, the frigates and the submarines are due for midlife refits, but there's no money available for that. And as a result, those platforms are going to be essentially unserviceable in the next few years if nothing is done. So we're seeing this across the board.
Sure. Many are our problems. Thank you for your insights there. That's DefenceWeb editor Guy Martin reporting there and talking to us about the situation in as far as the Gripen aircraft of the South African Air Force are concerned.